I'm just turning on the recording, you devotees. Otherwise, I will forget once the katha starts. Just turning on the recording, you devotees. Otherwise, I will forget. Yes. I think we can go ahead. Yes. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantika Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswata Devim Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desadharini Stale Stale Yasya Kripa Prabhabihi Krishna Anyat Krishna Jana Samhitana Nirmulitaye Bhavanti Tasmai Namo Namah Shrila Narottamaya Nayanam Galadashrudharaya Vadanam Gadgadaruddhaya Gira Pulakair Nichitair Vapukada Ravanama Grahani Bhavish Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Deva Tathapi Kirtayami Yanga Yadamatim Yadashrutam Kirtim Harim Swam Satkartum Giram Anyabhidhasatim Stitir Seva Gatiriyatra Smrtischinta Stutirvacha Bhuyat Sarvatmana Vishnu Maityam Tvaicheshtitam. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. So, I think we can take the screen off, right? Joseph Mataji. Now, dear devotees, so, Gita Pravaha. So, welcome to all of us to Gita Pravaha. And so far, what did we hear in Gita Pravaha? We heard about the importance of Bhagavad Gita in the last week. And also we heard about the yoga ladder. And now, today we will be hearing the summary of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This presentation will be more of a summary rather than overview. There's a little difference. We chose to present this as a summary because if it is presented in a story format, a conversational format, then it will not be too dry and it can sit well within us. So that's why it will be more of a summary format. And also, yeah, it will be presented as a story. So this will be more like a zoom out and bird's overview, bird's eye view of what the whole Bhagavad Gita is about. So we will be able to see we'll see the buzzwords. You will see the buzzwords, and also you will be able to see the connection between the chapters, which is very important for us in Bhagavad Gita, especially. That way, we don't feel like we got lost. So connections will be given too, and also when the summary is presented, the presentation is geared to simplify your understanding. Not only the understanding, but also to remember, for the memory also. So it will be geared accordingly. And we will see the comparison between the chapters. So it can be nicely packed up and can sit in our memory. So that's a little something about the summary of Bhagavad Gita, why it is being presented as summary, and why it is presented even before the individual chapter discussion is starting. You will see, once we have this bird's eye view, overall idea, then we will zoom into each chapter. Then we will be able to appreciate the whole content nicely. Okay, with that, I think we can go ahead, start the summary. Yes, I'm going to share the screen now. Bhagavad Gita, Gita Pravaha. Yes. Okay, so this is the one. We want the summary today. Yeah, let's change it to slideshow. Good, 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 good. All right, dear devotees. And this slide is presented like this. Everything, it may look like everything is squeezed in one slide, but the intention is, as I said, this is it. Bhagavad Gita is just this. One slide. That's all, not too much. And you see, there are only few words for each chapter. Those are the buzzwords. Okay. We want to have this kind of feel that, it is easy. It is well packed. I just have to get these buzzwords out and I can say something about this chapter. That's the feel we want to have. And that's why it is presented like this. Yeah. And the highlighting is also to aid in that visual memory. Yeah. So now we will start the summary. And you don't have to make notes. If you want to, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. Because this slide, all these slides can be shared. We'll share it. This slide, dear devotees, it is built in this way because we want to feel like Bhagavad Gita is easy and is just few words in each chapter. And that is why it is presented like this, just few words in each chapter. But when we go with individual presentation of the chapters, then different slides will be projected where you will be able to see the chapter breakdown easily. So you don't necessarily have to busily jot down. If you just want to pay attention to the summary as being said, then that's fine too. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and start now. Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Krishna and Arjuna, They are in Kurukshetra. The battle is about to begin. Okay. And now Arjuna is on this side, the Pandava side, and of course the other side are Kauravas. So Arjuna, he came to the battlefield to fight. So he was requesting Lord Krishna to please take the Radha a little in the midst, in the middle of the army, so he can take a look at the people on the other side. He wanted to know who he's going to fight with, have an estimation, and get himself prepared. So he asks, "Oh Achyuta, would you please take this chariot in the middle of the field so I can take a look at the other side of the army?" And Lord Krishna, Parthasarathi Krishna, Bhakta Vatsala, he is obeying the command of this, his Bhakta, Arjuna. So, Lord Krishna takes the chariot. Now, this chariot with the Lord Krishna and Arjuna is in the middle of the battlefield. Arjuna now is taking a close-up view of who he is going to fight with. Wow, he's seeing his beloved Bhishma Pitamaha there and his guru, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and all his relatives on the other side. And all of a sudden, it really did occur to Arjuna that he was going to fight with his family members. So it is said that, Acharyas say that, at this time now, Arjuna is put under illusion because the Bhagavad Gita needs to be spoken. So now Arjuna, he turns to Lord Krishna and says, "Oh, Rishikesha, I don't think I can fight. Vepatuscha sharire me roma harshascha jayate gandivam sramsate hastat tvakchaiva pratidahyate." Oh, Rishikesha, this Gandiva, I can't even hold this Gandiva. And my hair is standing on end. And my mouth is getting dried up. I don't think I can fight, Krishna. Look at on the other side. Those are all my dear family members and my guru, my beloved guru there. How can I kill them? No, Krishna, I don't think I can do this battle. And I don't think I can commit this sinful action of killing my own family members. I don't want this enjoyment that is tainted with blood, Krishna. No. And he gives the reasons, other reasons also, of why he doesn't want to fight. He says, if I fight this battle, then there will be no men left, and the women will be unprotected, and they will become unchaste, and will have unwanted progeny. So these are all my reasons, Krishna. And that's why I don't think I want to fight this battle. That's first chapter. And coming to the second chapter, in the very beginning also, Arjuna is still indecisive. He's shaking. He's shaking. He couldn't stand. This is Arjuna. Mahadhanurdhari Arjuna, who even pleased Lord Shiva and got Pasupatashra, Astra. That Arjuna could not stand on the chariot. He says, my legs are shaking. I can't stand, Krishna. So finally he said, no. I don't think I can do this battle, Krishna. These are all very worshipable to me. I better go and beg and live in the forest. But I will not fight this, Krishna. And then Arjuna, after saying all this, Krishna doesn't say, Lord Krishna says nothing until then. And then Arjuna is in the midst of this battlefield. Everybody is just watching Krishna and Arjuna. And now Arjuna is saying, I can't fight. and he couldn't stand, and he just collapsed on his chariot. And then that was the moment. Arjuna found himself helpless, very confused. And then what did he say? Karpanya doshopahata swabhava prachami tvam dharma sammuda cheta yat shreyasyan nischitan bruhi tanme Sishyaste aham sadhimam tvam prapannam. Prapannam. Oh, Achyuta, prapannam. I am submitting myself to you. I am taking prapatti. I am surrendering to you, Krishna. I am very much confused. I do not know what to do. So the relationship has just changed. Until then, it was friendly relationship. And now that Arjuna is shaking and so indecisive and confused, he found nobody else but Krishna for the shelter. So with that, the relationship has changed to guru-disciple relationship. And now Lord Krishna starts speaking. Up until then, he didn't say anything. Now Lord Krishna speaks. And he says, Arjuna, first thing he says is, Prajnavadamscha bhashate. You think you are very learned, Arjuna? You think you have enumerated all the reasons why you don't want to fight, and you think it's all shastric, and you think you are learned? You think you are learned, and now you can't even stand on the chariot. Uttishta Bharata. Get up, Arjuna. This doesn't befit you. You have to fight because, and now Lord Krishna gives the reasons. For each reason that Arjuna says, I can't fight, Krishna says a counteracting reason. When Arjuna said, I cannot kill them, and he's feeling so compassionate, then Krishna, for that question, for that reason, Krishna is saying, do you think you are killing them? What is killed is only body, but the Atma is not killed. And that's when the knowledge of the soul comes. All the knowledge of the soul comes one after the other, all the shlokas. You know, in India, whenever there is death, this particular part of the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge about the soul that is placed, that's in this chapter here. In the second chapter, this is in response to Arjuna's reason of, I don't want to kill them. Then Lord Krishna is like, you are not killing the soul. It's only just the body. And the soul is, and all the knowledge about the soul. Okay. And after hearing like that, Lord Krishna, one after the other, he takes on the reasons of Arjuna and counteracts those reasons and tells Arjuna why he should fight. So the details of it, we'll go it when we do the chapter wise. Okay. So like that, Lord Krishna gives all the reasons. And then after that, giving the reasons and saying you should fight, Arjuna. Then the next thing is how to fight. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Okay. So how to fight is like this. Nishkama Karma Yoga. You have to do your occupational duty. Karma Yoga. Karma is occupational duty. Yoga, to connect with the Supreme. Nishkama, without any desire inside, not attached to the result inside. So Arjuna, you have to fight, and you have to fight in the way of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Lord Krishna says that. There, he gives, he explains in detail. I mean, if you notice here, the Nishkama Karma Yoga, about this, it starts from the second chapter, continues to third, and to the fifth chapter. So here, Nishkama Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna explains a little bit about what Nishkama Karma Yoga means, and then why to do that Nishkama Karma Yoga. And the final point, a beautiful one, is how to be a Nishkama Karma Yogi. In other words, how to be so anchored inside, detached inside, while one performs the duty outside. That beautiful, detailed explanation is given here in the second chapter under this subject matter called Sthita Prajna. So Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, you have to fight because of these reasons, and this is how you should fight Nishkama Karma Yoga. And I'm giving you the details about the Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yeah. So be a Sthita Prajna inside while you do the war outside. That's the message in the second chapter. What is Sthita Prajna? Sthita is steady. Prajna is intelligence. Fixed in steady intelligence inside. So you have to be fixed in steady intelligence inside, Arjuna, says Lord Krishna. And there, Lord Krishna, he explains about the symptoms of a person who is very steady in intelligence, who has this steady intelligence inside. Symptoms and the way this person sits. Sits means how he controls his senses, how he engages his senses, how he controls his senses. Like that, the details of Sthita Prajna are given in the second chapter. Then Arjuna hears all that and he thinks, okay, I got it, Krishna. You want me to be steadily situated in the intelligence inside. Okay, so I don't have to wage the war now. I don't have to fight. Isn't that right, Krishna? That's how it goes to the third chapter, connecting peace. Then Lord Krishna, he had to make it clear. Arjuna, having steady intelligence inside doesn't necessarily mean that you don't do any action outside. You have to be steady in your intelligence inside. At the same time, you have to fight, Arjuna. Arjuna is so fixed in not fighting, actually. He's still trembling. It doesn't sink into him that he has to fight. So this is first. Lord Krishna already said you have to fight, Arjuna. He gave all the reasons. And now he's saying again, don't think you have to just sit with steady intelligence. Intelligence inside and then fight outside, Arjuna. Lord Krishna makes it clear. And he gives many reasons here again why he should do this Nishkama Karma Yoga. In other words, in Arjuna's case here, why he should perform his occupational duty as Kshatriya, why he should fight, and why he should stay detached inside. This is all Nishkama Karma Yoga. So, Lord Krishna explains. He gives the reasons, how one should do their prescribed duty, and that should be offered as sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. And then, yad yad acharati sreshta tat tat eva taro janaha sayat pramanam kurute loko tat anuvartate. Arjuna, not only that, you should fight, performing your occupational duty as a sacrifice to Lord Vishnu. Not only that, but whatever the acharate sreshta, the perfect people, whatever they practice, the rest of them follow. Yad yad acharate sreshta. That's why you have to set an example, Arjuna. so everybody else can follow. You have to set an example as a Kshatriya by performing your occupational duty of fighting very well. So for that reason also you should fight, Arjuna. Like this, Lord Krishna gives many more reasons. After hearing all that, Arjuna says, Krishna, I'm hearing all this. What is it that impels somebody to commit sinful actions and not really wanting to do the occupational duty? Arjuna is asking an indirect question of why is he not wanting to do the his prescribed duty now? Then Lord Krishna says, "Oh Arjuna, that sinful tendency is because of the lust. Lust is the eternal enemy. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapapmo, Vidhi Eva, Ihavairinam." So Arjuna, recognize that. This is an eternal enemy. And here, in this chapter, Lord Krishna, he describes where the lust sits in a person, in the body, senses, mind, intelligence, like that. And after giving more information about that, so he tells Arjuna where this lust sits in a person and how this lust should be conquered. So he winds down, Lord Krishna winds down saying, so this lust should be conquered with transcendental knowledge, Arjuna, says Lord Krishna. And that's how the subject matter in the 4th chapter is about the transcendental knowledge. Yeah. So far we have heard about Nishkama Karma Yoga and how the lust is conquered by transcendental knowledge. Now Lord Krishna has to give more information about this transcendental knowledge. Right? So then Lord Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakalena mahata yoga nashta parantapa. This transcendental knowledge, Arjuna, it has been given through the parampara system. I gave this knowledge in the past, but it is broken, and now I'm giving to you again. So here, how the knowledge comes in the parampara process. That is discussed here. And also, Lord Krishna describes about himself here, because in the transcendental knowledge, what is this transcendental knowledge about? About Lord Krishna, right? So here, the transcendental knowledge about Krishna, Lord himself speaks about him. And this is the place where Lord Krishna talks about tattva. What is his nature? What is the purpose of his advent here? And how he reciprocates with his devotees? All that is mentioned here in this buzzword Krishna. This is, evam yo vetti tattvataha. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamso iti Arjuna. One should know me in tattva. This is where the Lord starts to speak about himself in the 4th chapter. In the middle 6 chapters is more about bhakti, and that's where the Lord speaks, very mercifully speaks and reveals all the knowledge in the middle 6 chapters. But the start of the knowledge, a touch of the knowledge has started here in the 4th chapter. So like that. So after giving that knowledge about himself, then Lord Krishna says one has to do sacrifice so they can develop this transcendental knowledge. So after describing about himself, Lord Krishna says that one has to do the sacrifice so they can develop transcendental knowledge. And that's why this chapter is about the transcendental knowledge. So when the subject matter of transcendental knowledge is being introduced by the Lord, he is saying how it is imparted by Guru. Tatvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadikshyanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. So the importance of spiritual master and a little more information about the transcendental knowledge. That is all about the 4th chapter. And this is why this is termed as transcendental knowledge. So this is in response to Arjuna's question of how to conquer, what is this lust and how to conquer, right? Yeah. How to conquer is through transcendental knowledge. Now, after answering this question about how to conquer lust and giving information about the transcendental knowledge, now Lord Krishna is continuing with the 3rd chapter. You see, dear devotees? That's why you see in the 2nd chapter, Nishkama Karma Yoga is started here. The discussion of Nishkama Karma Yoga is started here. It continued in the 3rd chapter. And it will continue, it will conclude in the 5th chapter. Because the 4th chapter is about the transcendental knowledge. Okay? So as we are hearing the summary, we are actually packing the chapters, dear devotees. So in the 5th, so now at the end of the 4th chapter, Arjuna is thinking, oh, so now Krishna is saying I should know the transcendental knowledge. So I should just simply be expert in the transcendental knowledge. Do I have to fight? Again, Arjuna, right? Same thing that has happened from 2nd to 3rd chapter is happening from 4th to 5th chapter. Same question. He says, Krishna, I am really confused. For one final time, can you please tell me, do I have to fight or not? Can I just be situated in the knowledge inside? And or do I have to fight outside? He's thinking either this or that. And for one final time, Lord Krishna makes it clear like, this is not a mutually exclusive deal, Arjuna. This is again, I am emphasizing, to be done together. You fight outside and you be situated in the knowledge inside. So he makes that clear in the 5th chapter. So final clearance, final emphasis is given in the 5th chapter. There is some information about Yoga Yukta. But after making it very clear to Arjuna that he has to do this Nishkama Karma Yoga, he has to do his occupational duty, he has to fight, then Lord Krishna gives the 3 doers. The list, the soul, the Prakriti, and the material, the soul, Prakriti, and the Lord. So there is description about these 3 doers here. I'm just touching these buzzwords and giving the connection between the chapters while I give a gist of these chapters, dear devotees. But when we do the individual chapters, we can discuss all of them clearly. Okay. But here is in this 5th chapter, these 3 doers, those are mentioned here. So after making it clear to Arjuna that he has to fight, now the Lord is talking about liberation. Why did this liberation come here, this topic? Because Nishkama Karma Yoga ultimately leads to liberation. Yeah, because of internal detachment and the final goal as liberation. So the Lord speaks here about liberation. And there he explains how to obtain liberation and what are the symptoms of a person who is liberated, like that. And then finally he says, the sadhana is required for liberation. And when he mentions that, he mentions about how Ashtanga Yoga is a sadhana, one of the sadhanas for liberation, and how Bhakti Yoga also can be a sadhana for liberation. So that at the end of the 5th chapter, Lord mentions how these paths can be giving liberation. So because that was mentioned here about the Ashtanga Yoga, and then after that Bhakti Yoga, immediately in the 6th chapter, the details of Ashtanga Yoga are given. Because sadhana is needed for liberation and Ashtanga Yoga is one of the sadhanas. So that's why Ashtanga Yoga is described here immediately in the 6th chapter. And the second sadhana, he mentioned about Bhakti Yoga. And that's why from the 7th chapter on, the Bhakti Yoga will be started. Yeah. So now in Ashtanga Yoga, in the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna starts giving the details about Ashtanga Yoga. The 2 stages of Ashtanga Yoga. And the Yoga Rurukshu and Yoga Ruda. And how the Paramatma is realized. And what are the actions of a perfect yogi. All the details of the Ashtanga Yoga are given. The next one is how to control mind. That was nicely touched here, that topic here. And finally, when Arjuna asks, okay, this controlling mind business is too difficult for me, Krishna, I don't think I can do this Ashtanga Yoga. Arjuna says that. Then Lord Krishna, and Arjuna asks this question, oh my goodness, I have heard everything about the Ashtanga Yoga now. But Krishna, I have a question. What if somebody starts doing the Ashtanga Yoga, a yogi starts doing it and cannot really go all the way because it is so difficult for him? What if they give up in the middle? Then Lord Krishna explains about what happens to that particular yogi who leaves the process in between. What happens to that yogi in the next life? So the destination of the yogis, Ashtanga yogis, how they can be a yogi in the next birth, or how they can be born in a devotee family in the next birth. All that is described here in the 6th chapter, destination of the yogis. And at the very end, Lord Krishna, now that he has explained about Ashtanga Yoga also, he winds down the 6th chapter saying, Yoginam api sarvesham mad bhakte antaratmana. And whoever thinks of me in their heart dearly, then that yogi is the perfect. So with that, whoever thinks of the Lord in the heart dearly, who would that be? A bhakti yogi, right? So that's how, if somebody has to think about the Lord so dearly, they have to know about the Lord. Otherwise, what would they think? So now that's why Lord Krishna starts giving information about him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is how the 7th chapter starts. Yes, dear devotees. So far, we have heard, after the first chapter, we have heard about Nishkama Karma Yoga. How the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th chapter were packed. Nishkama Karma Yoga packs those chapters. The 4th one was about transcendental knowledge. 6th one was Ashtanga. Yeah. So we heard about Nishkama Karma Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. That's first 6 chapters. Right? Now, moving on to the middle 6 chapters, which is Bhakti Yoga. And we heard the connection, right? Why is Bhakti Yoga starting here? Because at the end of the 6th chapter, Lord Krishna is saying, of all the yogis, the one that thinks about me dearly in the heart is the best. And that's why the Lord is now speaking about himself. So the yogi, Bhakti yogi, can think about the Lord. When he knows about the Lord, he can think about the Lord. So in the 7th chapter, and you look at it, you look at the slides, dear devotees, all of them are about Krishna, 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 Krishna. This is very specific for the middle 6 chapters. All about Krishna, 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 because Bhakti Yoga. In the first 6 chapters, it was just a little bit. In the 4th chapter, that's transcendental knowledge. But all the middle 6 chapters are about Krishna, like a treasure in the treasure chest, which is protected by outer cover and by the 2 covers on either sides. This is like a treasure chest about Krishna. So 7th chapter. There is a lot of similarity between the 7th and 9th chapters, dear devotees, here. As there were similarities between the 3rd and 5th chapter, in the first section, here in Bhakti Yoga section, a lot of similarity between 7th and 9th. They almost look like twins. So we can pack them up together. See the buzzwords here. So, in the 7th chapter, now Lord Krishna is speaking about himself. And here, he really stresses about hearing. Tat shrunu, shrunu, shrunu. Just by hearing it faithfully and submissively, you will realize me, Arjuna. The importance of hearing and how one should hear is in the 7th chapter here. Just when the Lord is speaking about himself to Arjuna, he's alerting Arjuna. Now I'm going to speak about myself. Hear, Arjuna. So he speaks. Lord Krishna talks about the importance of hearing and about his material energies and about his position. Okay. The same way, all these topics, dear devotees, very similar. In the 9th chapter also, very similar about his material energies and about his position, like that. Okay. So now we are comparing here 7th and 9th. So it will be easier for us to pack. And after speaking about himself, Lord Krishna, he talks about the people. 2 kinds of people. 2 categories of people. In first category is the 4 types of people that wants to come to Krishna. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasurathati jnani cha bharatarshava. These are the 4 kinds of people that come to me, O Arjuna. And the other 4 kinds of people that turn away from Krishna. So after speaking about himself, Krishna, he was speaking about two kinds of jivas here. In the 9th chapter also, something very similar happens. After speaking about himself, the Lord, he speaks about the Mudas and Mahatmas here a little bit. Okay, so those two are common. And in the after speaking about these four kinds of people in two different categories, Lord Krishna, he speaks about the demigod worship and impersonalism in the 7th chapter. Same thing in the 9th chapter. Similarly, demigod worship and worship of universal form here in the 9th chapter. Okay, in the 7th chapter, it is impersonalism, demigod worship and impersonalism. In the 9th chapter, demigod worship and universal form, worship of universal form. So it's just similar here. Okay, so in this way, of course, in the 9th chapter, since we have compared these two, the last thing in the 9th chapter is about the glories of Krishna Bhakti. So that is there in the 9th chapter. Okay. So that's the comparison. Now coming back to the flow. Now Lord Krishna has spoken about himself, starts to speak about himself in the 7th chapter, and also enumerated two kinds of devotees, two kinds of people. A set of people that come towards him and a set of people that go away from him. After that, the demigod worship and impersonalism. Here, at the end, very end, after explaining these topics, Lord Krishna says, "O Arjuna, one who knows me as Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna, and they can understand me even at the time of death. Prayana Kale. Prayana is travel time. So beautiful, that word. Such a beautiful word, huh? Travel time for the soul. It's not death. Travel time for the soul. Prayana Kale. So Lord Krishna says that. So one who knows me like this, then knows me as Adi Daiva, Adi Bhuta, Adi Yajna, then they will understand me well, and they're fixed during, even at the time of death, Prayana Kale. So the destination can be transcendental. He says that, Lord Krishna. That leads Arjuna to these questions in the 8th chapter. Arjuna has about 6 questions in the 8th chapter about who is Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna, Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, like that, and about the Prayana Kale. Prayana Kale is how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So the 8th chapter is about Arjuna's questions about these terms. And the last one, Prayana Kale, is explained in detail here. How one remembers Krishna at the time of death. There Lord Krishna explains how Ajnana yogis try to remember Lord Krishna at the time of death, and how Ashtanga yogis does that, and how the devotee does that. All that is explained. So that Prayana Kali's subject matter is in the 8th chapter. And after explaining how one can remember Krishna during that transit time when leaving body, Lord Krishna gives information about material world and spiritual world. How all this world where Brahma is, how this is all material world, Brahma Bhuvanarloka Punaravruttino Vachana. about the details, how in the day of Brahma, Kalpa. So information about this material world. And then immediately he says, this is material world, but something beyond this, there is spiritual world. And so that when yogi, depending upon what they remember, then their destination will differ. For a yogi who can leave the body in Uttarayana, then their destination will be higher planetary systems. And if they're able to travel through, the last chakra, then they will attain liberation. And if they can't, then they will go to the lower planets. But for devotees, no problem. They enter into the spiritual realm because they're dependent on me. So all that is described in the 8th chapter. Yeah, Prayana Kale, how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So this, dear devotees, we have noticed, right? This is an answer Lord Krishna is giving to Arjuna's question of, what are these terms that you just said? And can you tell me a little detail about Prayana Kale? How can people remember you at the time of death? Here, dear devotees, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatte ante kalevaram. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. And this is where it comes. So this is Lord Krishna's response to Arjuna's question. But now the subject matter continues. Whatever was started in the 7th chapter, it continues in the 9th chapter. And Lord Krishna continues to describe about himself, gives more information about himself. And this is how the 7th chapter and 9th chapter are linked. And they are like twins. Like the 3rd and 5th chapter here in the first section, 7th and 9th. So we have covered the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Okay. And now, actually, dear devotees, here the beautiful shloka in the 9th chapter. The definition of bhakti. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam is in the 9th chapter. The most confidential knowledge. Here, Lord Krishna just defined bhakti there. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. And at the end of the chapter, he gives the glories of Krishna Bhakti. Very beautifully described, the glories of Krishna Bhakti. That's in the end of the 9th chapter. And this is where, the bhakti. Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuram mame vaishyati satyam te pratijane priyosami. So that's all here in the 9th chapter, the glories of bhakti. And also how bhakti is for everybody, even for those who are the sinners or those who are pious. Bhakti is for everybody. Nobody is excluded. So in this way, glories of Krishna Bhakti are given in the end of the 9th chapter. And I will bring your attention to the 11th chapter because the glories of Krishna Bhakti are also given at the end of the 11th chapter. Yeah, just that, bringing your attention there. Okay, so in the 9th chapter, now that Lord said, this is the glory of bhakti to me. Now, Arjuna is prepared to receive even more the confidential knowledge. Now that Krishna Bhakti is so glorious, now Krishna is, Dear devotees, there are many scriptures in the world in different religions. But there is no authority, a spiritual authority that is speaking about himself so authentically and detailed as Lord Krishna is doing in Bhagavad Gita. So now Lord Krishna in the 10th chapter, he says how Name vidur suraganaha prabhavam namaharshayah aham adirhi bhutanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. There is nobody that can know me. Name vidur suraganaha prabhavam namaharshaya. Not the suragana, not the demigods, not the rishis. There is nobody that can know me because aham adirhi bhutanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Even before anybody was born, I was the only one that is present. There was nobody that is present. So how can anybody know me at all? How can anybody know me at all? And I am the source of everything. I am source of everybody. So these are the words that are very specific for Bhagavad Gita only. It is not present in the other scriptures. That in this detailed, authentic voice of from me comes everybody. And I was present before, I am present now, and I will be existing in the future, like that. So in the 10th chapter, so Lord Krishna gives states how he is the origin of everything. And the specialty of this 10th chapter is the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. That's present in this 10th chapter. That's pure bhakti, Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. After explaining that he is the origin of that everybody that is existing, then Lord Krishna, he speaks about this Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. Why is this so important, Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita? With these 4 shlokas, the whole content of Bhagavad Gita is packed. Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. When somebody knows that I am present everywhere and doing bhajan with that bhava. So that is the first shloka. And then Matchitta Matgata Pranaha Bodhayantah Parasparam Kadayantah Sumam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. We will go into the details of the shlokas when we get to the chapter. But for now, we just need to know that the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita is present in this 10th chapter. Okay, Arjuna heard about these wonderful 4 shlokas also. And now Arjuna is asking, Krishna, so far you have so nicely, mercifully enumerated your energies and your functions and stated your position here, your authority. Now, would you please give me an idea of your opulences here, how you are present like an antaryami, how you are present everywhere, in everything. Can you please tell me about that, Krishna? Because for the impersonalists, until now, Arjuna is now he is clear that Lord Krishna is the personality of Godhead, one after the other, when Krishna is speaking about himself. But for the impersonalists, their criteria is impersonalist, right? So their criteria is to see that a source of everything is present everywhere. So that's why Arjuna is asking, can you please speak about your opulences? So the whole list is given here. How Lord Krishna says, how he is present inside out, in all the material elements and in different species of the animals, how he's like a Himalaya, and how he's like the strength in the strong. So all the list is given there in the opulences. That's in the 10th chapter. Now that Arjuna heard about the list of the opulences of Krishna and how the Lord is present in everything, in some form of or other, and in all species too, now Arjuna is asking, would you please give me a vision of how you are present? I just heard you have enumerated everything, that you are present here, there, in this form, like that. Can I see that, please? Can you actually give me the vision that I can see you in a way that you have enumerated? That was Arjuna's request. And as a response to that request, Lord Krishna shows his universal form, Vishwarupa. That's in the 11th chapter. So, 11th chapter is about the universal form. And Divyam Dadati Chakshuhu. Arjuna, you cannot see what you are asking. You cannot see what I'm going to show you. So I will have to give you the transcendental eyes. There you go. I am giving you the transcendental eyes. Now you see my Vishwarupa. Divyam Dadati Chakshu. Then Arjuna sees the Vishwarupa. Aneka bahurudharavatra netram pashyami tvam sarvato anantarupam nantam na madhyam na punastavadim pashyami vishveshwara vishwarupa. Krishna, I don't see a beginning, I don't see an end, I don't see a middle, I see you everywhere. Who are you? Then, of course, this Vishwarupa has both Virat Rupa and Kala Rupa. Vishwarupa is, the Lord present everywhere. And the Kala Rupa is when the Lord is saying, the time I am, and he shows the future where the Kauravas are all killed. So that aspect is the Kala Rupa. Vishwarupa has Virat Rupa and Kala Rupa. Virat Rupa is this form, mouths everywhere, hands everywhere, legs everywhere, everything. That is all Virat Rupa. And the Kala Rupa together is Vishwarupa. When Duryodhana saw the form, that was just Virat Rupa. It's not Vishwarupa. There's no Kala Rupa there. So in the 11th chapter, so this is the universal form, and the Kala Rupa is also there. That is described in the 11th chapter. So when Arjuna sees this form, he was curious. He asked Krishna to please show this. Show me how you are present everywhere. You just listed, enumerated, but now can you please show me? Now that Arjuna is seeing, he is saying, especially after seeing the Kala Rupa, Arjuna starts, he says, I am seeing all this. Yes, I have seen your form. I'm also seeing how all these enemies, they are being crushed. Their heads are being crushed in between your ferocious teeth. Now I am getting scared. Oh, please, can you now please withdraw this form? It is very ferocious. Would you please come back to your pleasant form, the four-armed form, and then Dvibhuja as Lord Krishna. So Arjuna, on Arjuna's request, now Lord Krishna comes back to his original form. Okay. So in that way, Arjuna has this darshan of Vishwarupa. And at the end, Lord Krishna, after coming back to his original Saumya Vapu, the pleasing form with the two arms, then he Lord Krishna enumerates the glories of Krishna Bhakti again. How it wasn't possible for anybody to see the Vishwarupam, but Arjuna was qualified. And that's why he got this transcendental eyes. And how Bhakti Yogi is qualified to have this darshan of universal form, just that they are not interested. So Bhakti is very superior. In that context, Lord Krishna gives the glories of Bhakti Yoga here. And now that from an impersonal aspect also, it is clear Arjuna is actually asking questions from everybody's perspective. This Vishwarupam, Arjuna asks the Lord because anybody can claim that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are the Godhead. But how can they prove? They have to prove like this, as Lord Krishna showed his Vishwarupam. If somebody shows their Vishwarupam also, then yes, that can be agreed. Like that, Arjuna was asking, and these questions. So now Arjuna's question is, now that he has asked about the universal form also, which is, and about the opulences, which is for the impersonalists. Now the final question on that note is, Krishna, now that I have heard about your opulences, I've seen the universal form, can you please tell me, which kind of bhakti is superior? I see you very Saumya Vapu, in two-armed form, Dvibhuja, Krishna. So, he is worshipping your form in the way that you are appearing now. That bhakti, is that superior, or just meditating on the pure consciousness, Brahma Jyoti, is that superior? So what do you say, Krishna? Can you please say? Then Lord Krishna says that it is very difficult to do the impersonal worship, and it is easier and natural to do the personal worship, bhakti. And he also says, I endorse bhakti. So personal worship of Bhagavan, bhakti, is endorsed by the Lord. So after that, Arjuna asks this question, Krishna, okay, you are endorsing this personal form, bhakti to your form, personal form. Can anybody do it? What about those who are not really knowledgeable and attracted to your form right away? In that context, Lord Krishna explains how some devotees are spontaneously attracted. They are pure devotees. And if somebody is not spontaneously attracted, then the next one is adachittam samadhatum na shaknosi mai stiram. If your chitta is not stira in me, then abhyasa yogena tatha mamichaptum dhananjaya. Then do the abhyasa, do the practice, do the sadhana, take up the sadhana bhakti. Like that, Lord Krishna explains about how everybody can get to him somehow or other. That was more like a ladder to Krishna. On the top of the ladder are pure devotees. After that are sadhakas. And after that are those who are interested in devotion and are helping the sadhakas. And after that are Ashtanga yogis, Jnana yogis, and the very end are the people who are doing the charity. Like that, ladder to Krishna is explained here in the 12th chapter. And the wonderful topic of the qualities dear to Krishna. Here, the Lord enumerates those qualities. And this is how we know if somebody wants to see if they're advancing in bhakti, and these are the list of qualities the Bhagavan gave us to see, to check if we are heading the right way in our bhakti. like that. So all the qualities dear to Krishna are given there. That's in the 12th chapter. By this time, it is clear to Arjuna. Done. There are no more questions. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Bhakti Yoga, that is superior. And Lord himself said, this is personally worshipping me is the best. So Arjuna didn't have anything to ask. Bhagavad Gita can end here after the 12th chapter. The Lord also mentioned all the qualities dear to Krishna. But Arjuna had different questions. Again, Arjuna is taking a role to ask everybody's questions. There are 6 systems of philosophies. So from all, on behalf of everybody, Arjuna is asking the question. So now Arjuna said, Krishna, this is all so wonderful. Yes, I have heard this, but I have heard about these terms, Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and what is Jnanam, what is Jnayam? I have these questions, these miscellaneous questions, Krishna, would you please answer? So that chapter is 13th chapter. All the 6 questions. What is Kshetra? Kshetra is the body, field of activity. Kshetrajna, knower of the field. What is Jnanam? Knowledge. What is Jnayam? The object of knowledge, the super soul. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? Those are the questions in the 13th chapter. After explaining, Lord Krishna explains very nicely all this. And then the Prakriti, when he's explaining about the Prakriti, the modes are in the Prakriti. So the 14th chapter is about the modes. Dear devotees, you see here, 14th and 17th, they can be packed together. 14th and 17th. 16th, also in the category of the modes indirectly, because divine nature is more of sattva. Yeah. Demonic nature is, passion and ignorance. In that way, it can fall in that category too. But 14th and 17th is almost like continuation. Not that they are twins, but almost like continuation. We'll see how. In the 14th chapter, the modes and the internal mood of a person in a specific mode. How does a person in Rajoguna, Tamoguna, Satvaguna, how is their mood inside? How do they behave outside? And what is their destination at the time of death? All that in the 14th chapter. And the next topic is, okay, now that we heard about the modes, how to transcend the modes. And how is a person internally, the one who transcended the modes, who is Gunatita, is the one who has transcended the modes. So how does a person who has transcended the modes behave outside? And what is their internal status? What is their mood inside? And what is their behavior outside? So that is also in the 14th chapter, the modes, the transcending modes. And in the 15th chapter, this is Purushottama Yoga. Why? The reason this came here is, now that these gunas are described here, the modes are described here, the jiva is very much attached to the modes. Conditioned jiva is attached to the modes, right? But in order to attach to Krishna, a conditioned jiva has to detach from the modes. So that's why 15th chapter is Purushottama Yoga. where the material world is described as an upside down banyan tree as a reflection in the water. And the spiritual world is described as a banyan tree. And how one should detach from the modes through the process of surrender. So one can attach to Krishna. That topic is described here. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama. The process of surrender, beautiful one. That's described in the 5th chapter. Because if we have to attach to Krishna, if we have something in our hand, say if we have a pencil in our hand and we want to hold a pen, we have to put the pencil aside to hold the pen, like that. So we have to detach from the modes to attach to Krishna. The desire to attach to Krishna is the driving force. But the attachment to Krishna comes as much as we get detached from the modes. That is here. And because there is description here about the material world being the upside down banyan tree, the souls, how the souls in this material world change the bodies, transmigration of the soul, that is also described here. And how Krishna is the maintainer at cosmic level and at personal level is also described. And also super soul that is also described here in the 15th chapter. So those are the topics, plus verse in short. That's about the 15th chapter. And we have already touched this 16th chapter. That's about divine and demoniac nature. Because in the 15th chapter, the material world is described as upside down banyan tree. That upside down is the demoniac nature. And the real banyan tree is more like a divine nature. So that's why the 16th chapter is about divine nature and the demoniac nature. The 17th chapter is the continuation. More information about the modes. How a person, based on the faith, how a person, their mode affects their faith. See, for example, a person whose mode is predominantly ignorant, their faith is more tamasic. They cannot take the faith of Vaishnavas. Then they take the faith of, the dark magic, the lower processes like that. So based on the predominant mode that a person has, they will have the faith accordingly. They choose the food accordingly. They do the sacrifices accordingly and the austerity accordingly. So the influence of the modes in all these factors is described in the 17th chapter. So 14th is like 17th is like continuation of the 14th. Finally, coming to the 18th chapter is more like a miscellaneous points put together. And by 17th chapter, Bhagavad Gita is done. All the topics were discussed, including the modes. 18th chapter is more like a summary, as Srila Prabhupada said. So all these topics that were discussed, they were touch base a little bit there. Difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa, and the 5 factors of action. What are those 5 factors? There are so many factors. The soul and the super soul, and whatever the soul does the action with, that is body, the senses, and the life air. So we will discuss that in detail, but those 5 factors of action and a brief description of modes again, and Varnashrama, and then Brahman platform. All after describing all this, finally about the devotion and how the devotion is special, about pure bhakti, the place of pure bhakti. Lord Krishna winds down Bhagavad Gita Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papepyo mokshasyami masucha. And that's almost the last shloka in the 18th chapter. So that's about devotion after explaining the miscellaneous topic. And here also Lord Krishna says how whoever shares the knowledge, not just shares, when the Lord says preaches his glories, whoever preaches the glories to his devotees, their destination to the transcendental realm is guaranteed. Mame vaishyasi asamsayah. Bhakti mayi param kritva mame vaishyasi asamshaya. That is also a promise here that the Lord gave in the 18th chapter. So, in this way, dear devotees, these chapters are connected to each other with those subject matters. Okay, to wind down, to pack it up, I'm just going to briefly pack it up in a different way. So, it will be more easier. First chapter is more like an introduction. Reasons not to fight. That's easy to remember. 18th chapter is more like a miscellaneous thing. That is also easy to remember. They don't necessarily have connection. That's first and 18. And the first 6 chapters are about Nishkama Karma Yoga. Here, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th are linked. Nishkama Karma Yoga is described in this 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. 4th one is about transcendental knowledge. 6th is Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. And of all the yogis, the Bhakti Yogi is the best. Lord Krishna said that. So the Bhakti Yoga starts in the 7th chapter. So middle 6 are Bhakti chapters. That's why everything about Krishna and Bhakti is given here, abundantly given here in 7th to 12th chapters, middle 6 chapters. 7th chapter and 9th chapter are like twins. Yeah. 8th chapter is about Prayana Kali, remembering Krishna at the time of death. I'll let you look at these buzzwords too, but I'm covering the whole thing from a different perspective too. And also, the Krishna Bhakti glories are in the 11th chapter too. Okay. And in the 10th chapter is Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita. The opulences are enumerated in 10th chapter, and Vishwarupa is in the 11th chapter. Yeah. And now that Arjuna saw the universal form also, finally, Arjuna asks this question: which is better, personal or impersonal bhakti? Ladder to Krishna and qualities dear to Krishna, 12th chapter. Okay. Middle chapter is done. And the last 6 chapters are Jnana Yoga. There's a lot of knowledge about the modes, and Jnana is more about detachment from the modes. That's why. So 13th chapter is about the 6 questions. And from the question of Prakriti and Purusha, Prakriti is about modes. So 14th chapter is about modes. 14th and 17th are like continuation. People, what is their mood, behavior, and destination in different modes? And what is their faith, food, and sacrifice and austerity? Right? And in the 14th chapter, about those people who transcend modes. How do they behave? What is their mood? 14th, 17th done. Because 14th chapter is speaking about the modes to which a jiva is so much attached, the detachment topic is brought here in the 15th chapter. So, from material world to spiritual world is by cutting the material attachment with the acts of detachment, taking up the process of surrender. That's 15th chapter. Divine and demonic qualities, 16th chapter. And 17th we already heard. 18th is miscellaneous. That's all, dear devotees. That is the summary of Bhagavad Gita, with the gist of content of each chapters, the connection between the chapters, the buzzwords that you already see, and how we can pack these chapters based on their similarities. That is it. The whole Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, we'll pause here, dear devotees. Okay. Wow, 6:30 is not bad. So, shall we pause here? Unless you have any pressing question. Madhava. Is that our Madhav? Nikunja Vilasini Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, it's
Oh,
me.
yeah, so it's you.
He's
Okay.
also sitting here, but it's
Okay.
predominantly me, Mataji. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
you are here. Hare Krishna. I was just checking to see if we are all local, then we could just log off so we can go to the Krishna Katha. Unless you have any pressing questions, dear devotees. Shall we?
Mataji, just wanted to thank you so much for this wonderful summary and the overflow.
Yes.
It is so helpful, Mataji. Thank you so much. Like especially knowing which chapters are connected, but also at the same time, what are the subtle differences between those chapters?
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful summary.
Yes. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And the slide will be showed. Buzzwords are already there. You will be able to look at the buzzwords. But I just wanted to present from different perspective too. So the packing can be easy. All right, dear devotees. Thank you all. Honoring all of your association. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. हरे कृष्णा.
Thank you, Mataji.